guys, this is Misty from the Book Rat, and it's time for my May Rewind. So basically this is a look back at what I read in May with a quick thumbs up, thumbs down rating. If you watched my May TBR, you know that I had a huge stack of books to work through and not a lot of time to do it, so I was kind of in panic mode. And for a while, it wasn't so much that I was stalled, but I was definitely moving at a slower pace than I wanted to, and I thought I was going to be lucky to finish 3 books in May, so I was really kind of freaking out. But I actually managed to get a lot done. I had a big push at the end of the month, and managed to knock out a lot more than I thought I was going to. So let's get into it. In May, I read The Savage Blue by Zoraida Cordova. This is the sequel to The Vicious Deep. I'm very behind in reviewing, so my review of this has yet to go up, though it will be up super soon, I promise. But make sure to check out the awesome guest vlog that Zoraida did. I talked a little bit about this one in my April rewind because I had read part of it. I had started it in April and was saying that unless it took a real nosedive, I didn't see there was any way that I was going to give this a thumbs down, and I was right. Huge thumbs up. I really like the series. I think Zoraida has really nailed Tristan's voice, not just in its sort of teenagerness, but in the fact that she's writing a male character who manages to be both typical 17-year-old boy and potentially powerful descendant of the Sea King. It's really just pitch perfect. She mentioned on Facebook that a reviewer said that she had gotten his dude-like swagger or something along those lines, and I think that that reviewer really nailed it. That's exactly what it is. Tristan does sound like, you know, just every other dude. He does sound like a 17-year-old boy, and the way he thinks about girls and some of that cockiness that boys have and that swagger, and I think that she really managed to capture that and make it believable and not like, you know, some female writer chick trying to write a dude. No, she really got it. It feels authentic. But then when you get to the sort of supernatural, mythological, merman aspects of it, and, you know, the power and the potential and the timeliness, it doesn't feel out of place, and it doesn't feel like it's false to Tristan's character. You know, they really do gel and work together and make it believable. It's funny, it's exciting, it just keeps getting stronger, and my finishing the book comments on Goodreads were hot damn. I am so ready for book 3. Next up was Nothing Can Possibly Go Wrong by Prudence Shen and Faith Erin Hicks. I sort of live tweeted this a little bit as I was reading it, and I think that you could tell I was definitely loving this one. Huge thumbs up. Again, I think that Prudence Shen really nailed sort of the tone and the characters and their voices. It was really funny. It had heart to it. It was super engaging the whole time. Faith Erin Hicks' art style just added this awesome extra layer to it. I thought she really got the story and was able to not only put her artistic stamp, but bring the story to life. And it just worked across the board. There was never a part that I didn't like this. As you can see, I tabbed a lot of things. I always tab my favorite bits of books as I'm reading them, and this one got lots of favorite bits. Whether it was through the art or through the humor of the story, it just had me. From start to finish, I loved it. Again, behind in reviews, so this one hasn't gone up yet. However, I did have an awesome guest post from Prudence, and you should check that out. Epic Fail by Claire Lizebnik. This was the winner of last month's Stack of 5, so you guys voted for this one. And thank you for voting for that one. Not only because I was kind of nudging you in that direction because I really wanted to read it, but also because it was exactly what I needed. Huge thumbs up. I would have read this in one sitting had I not started it at like 3 o'clock in the morning, which was foolish on my part because then it was almost 5 when I went to bed. I told myself I was just gonna read a couple sentences. When does that ever work out for me? But when I woke up in the morning, I started right back, just went, sat outside, picked up where I left off, and read straight through. Not to say that it didn't have some flaws or that there weren't things that I didn't think, you know, were perfect. I'm not saying it's a perfect book at all, but it was just thoroughly engaging. I'm not going to get too into detail because of course I'm going to be doing a video review of it since it was the Stack of 5 winner. But basically, if you're looking for a good, sweet, fun, really super quick contemporary telling of Pride and Prejudice, or just a contemporary romance in general, a good beach read, highly recommended. The Hero's Guide to Storming the Castle by Christopher Healy. This is book 2 in the Hero's Guide series. If you kept up with Fairy Tale Fortnight last year, I liked the first book, but I was in like a weird frame of mind and I didn't love it the way I wanted to. Felt that it was a bit too much at times. Still got a thumbs up though. This one definitely gets a thumbs up easily. I didn't have the same issues, or at least not to the same extent as I did with the first book. My review is already up for this one, so of course you can check it out. But basically, even though there were a few times that there was a little too much, I think, sometimes it felt a little longish or just too many jokes, you know, constantly. It didn't bother me the way it did with the first book, and I thought it was better handled and smoother. It is non-stop jokes still, in the way that there's something for everybody. So I think a middle grader reading this on their own is going to find a lot to laugh about. A parent or a teacher reading this aloud is going to find a lot to laugh about. And an adult reading it on their own is going to find totally different things than the middle grader would have to laugh about. It's really funny, it's really engaging. There was a lot of growth in the characters, which I really liked. I loved seeing how they sort of developed and seeing some of them begin to develop and start that journey. And I'm definitely curious to see where book 3 goes and see how things start changing for all of these characters. So, well worth it. Plus, it had the reappearance of some of my favorite characters from book 1, which would be Troll. Loved Troll. And the Bandit King, who is one of the funniest characters I think I've read in a good long while. If you're a teacher or a middle grader or you're looking for good boy books, definitely recommend this series. Fractured by Terry Terry. This is the sequel to Slated, and so I don't want to give anything away since it is a sequel, but basically, definite thumbs up. There are times when Kyla's story can be a little frustrating in how she's not putting things together that I think the reader puts together immediately, but it's always in ways that make sense because she's had her sort of mind wiped. And as you get further into the story, you realize just what that means for her and how many times she's kind of had her memories and brain and personality messed with. I think the further we go and the more layers we peel back, the more intricate and intriguing it gets. It keeps going where I want it to go and where I think some authors wouldn't necessarily. Kyla explores things in a way that I really like, and it's this sort of quest to find herself in the midst of all of this awful dystopian things that have happened. And then this dystopian society itself and the way that Terry Terry explores all of the aspects of that, all of the sort of opposing factions and how there are good things that they do in bad ways or bad things that they do when they say it's for the greater good from both sides of the issue. And that's what I like and what I look for in a dystopia. I look for the questions to be explored, and I look for the gray area to really be taken advantage of, and she does that. As more and more comes back to Kyla and more gets cleared up, it actually becomes more mysterious, and for every question that is answered, 5 more questions are asked, and that's what I really enjoy about something like this. So, really solid, highly recommended series. Plus, super quick and engaging. Like, it's hard to put the series down, which is always a winner in my book. Jerusalem by Boaz Yakin and Nick Bertozzi. This one is a graphic novel, sort of loosely based on one of the author's family's history in Jerusalem, and just sort of the general history of Jerusalem and Palestine in general. When I started this one, I don't know if it was because I was sort of on a high from all of these fun, happy books like Epic Fail, and just not wanting to go into this really dense, heartbreaking story, but I almost put this one down in the beginning. It was just one human atrocity after another, and it was a lot of characters to juggle, and they're all doing these horrible things and being these horrible people, and I was just not. I didn't want to finish it. I just didn't. I couldn't. But I did. I kept going and told myself to just, you know, suck it up and stop being a baby. And it went on for so long, all of this horribleness and these awful things that we do to each other, that when the first sort of good, sweet thing happened, which was something really mild and inconsequential, I cried. I burst into tears, like sitting on my back porch reading for the world to see. Lost it because it was just seeing how much a small act of kindness can affect someone, how we still keep doing all of the bad things anyway, was just really a powerful moment. And so I have to hand it to them. I have to feel like it was kind of planned to have you in this dark place and keep piling it on and piling it on and piling it on, and then occasionally have these glimmers of what we could be instead, was really moving and really powerful. And there were a couple of times that would happen in the book, and that I would cry and I would feel for these characters like they were real and like I knew them and saw the way out and couldn't help them. It's a huge thumbs up because of that. Of course, since it's a graphic novel, it is a quick read. I think that it will leave some people feeling conflicted, especially with the way it ends and things not being wrapped up with a bow. But it's basically set just before and just after World War II, following how this family deals with this turmoil and revolution and things like that. And I think it painted a really solid picture and honest picture of all sides, and didn't flinch away from things, and think that they really explored things well. The art style added to it and helped. Occasionally was a little abrupt in some of the transitions, but for the most part, pretty stellar. And lastly, The Resurrectionist by E.V. Hudspeth. I know a number of you were curious about this one when I showed it in my TBR, and I can't say I blame you one bit. Really intriguing. I think would make a great coffee table book for someone who's a little quirky, a little strange. This one definitely does get a thumbs up. It's kind of split into two sections. The first being this sort of faux biography of a man named Spencer Black, Dr. Spencer Black, and his unsettling work at the turn of the century. And the latter half of the book is like a cryptozoological medical text documenting his findings or his creations or, you know, whatever it may be. I thought the biography itself was solid enough and adds, you know, to the whole idea of the story and adds some intriguing, you know, aspects to it. I think it would be an interesting story to explore, and maybe in a full-length novel or a movie that could really become intriguing. But as it is, sort of like a research paper almost, it's sometimes abrupt, sometimes a little too convenient, if that makes sense. I think it would make a really cool faux documentary, a mockumentary. It's solid enough, it works for what it is, but of course the real stunner of this book is the codex, which has all of these illustration plates and info on, you know, the various creatures, the studies that Spencer Black performed. That is what inevitably makes this fascinating. I had someone ask me on Goodreads, and I think this is a good point to mention, asked me whether this is something that you should definitely read in a physical copy, and I would say categorically yes. This isn't something I think that you should get on your Kindle or whatever, because it's not something you necessarily want to sit down and read straight through. This is something to kind of pour over and flip through on occasion, and it's non-traditional. It's not just a story that you're going to read and it's going to be exciting and then you're done. This is something that should be a little more interactive. You know, it's this fake medical text, and it's something to lose yourself in for a little while and then set aside and then come back to later. And something that you really would need to see and hold and, you know, look at in detail and get to see up close, and not just on a little screen as you flick past. That's not going to give you the experience of the book. So I think if you read it as a story, and especially as an ebook, it's probably not going to be successful for you, but as a physical copy sitting on your coffee table, it's going to be a discussion piece. And I think that's what it's meant to be. So that is all I read in May, with the exception of a couple little bits and pieces of things, but not enough to really include in this. Really solid month of reading, and thumbs up across the board, which is an insane rarity. Really helpful for my month of madness for them to all be good and not make me want to throw them. And it made me ready to jump into June and just keep on this streak, which I'm hoping the winner of the June Stack of 5 will do. I tried to pick a bunch of books that were going to be super engaging and quick and just unput-downable. You know, I need one of those right now. So that is what I thought of what I read in May. Definitely let me know what you think of the books that I read. If you've read them, what your thoughts were, and if you agree, but try to avoid spoilers. And if you read anything awesome in May that you want to share, or you've done your own rewind or wrap-up, link it up as a video response and I will definitely check it out. And until next time, that's all from me. Thanks for watching and happy reading!